Hello, welcome to chapter 4, and today we're going to get a little bit more in depth into the writing process. So we're going to talk about writing in different disciplines. We're going to give you a process that you can use while you're technical writing. We're going to talk about planning, drafting and revising, copy editing and publishing. And finally, we're going to do some tips and tricks on how to write collaboratively. So first, we're going to talk about the writing process. So identify a writing process that suits your writing style. How do you like to write? Do you like to find topics and then elaborate on them? Do you like to write sequentially? How do you like to write? So first, you're going to plan your document. Then after your plan, you are going to start to draft and revise. And this is going to be an iterative process. So you're going to do it many different times where you're going to redo some revisions and then go through the revision process again. Finally, you're going to edit and publish your document. And anywhere within any of these steps, you can collaborate constructively with others. It doesn't have to be just one step, doesn't have to be all of them. It can be in bits and pieces. So a process for technical writing. So it's important to understand how the technical writing process works. So writing is recursive or reiterative. So your writer is going to move back and forth between predictable writing stages. Writing takes sufficient time to complete. It is not something you can just throw together at the last minute. Writing is different from everyone. The way that I like to write is probably not the same way that you like to write. Writing is a conversation. It is an act of discovery. It's an adventure. And it is definitely going to be influenced by the writer's background. So again, the steps that we're going to look at individually are planning, drafting, revising. The drafting and revising, you're going to go back and forth a few times, copy editing, and then finally publishing. When you start the planning process, first thing you're going to want to do is choose a topic. After you choose a topic, you're going to then conduct some research. You're going to shape the idea to develop it or to narrow it down into a more specific topic. Finally, in the planning stages, you're going to want to organize your content. And when it comes to organizing your content, you are going to figure out your scope and your audience and all those things that we talked about in previous lectures. Drafting is the next stage, and the three main parts you're going to draft is an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. The order in which you do this is the order in which you do this. I tend to start within the body, and my introduction and conclusion are last. I have a hard time writing introduction paragraphs though, so I usually leave introduction till the very last. But just make sure you have those three different types of writing within your document. Now, revising. This is very difficult for a lot of people. The very first thing is that you do need to put your draft aside for a while before you revise it. It is not advisable to revise immediately after writing your draft. I like to say sleep on it. Okay, for some reason, after you get a good night's sleep or two, you have a very strange clarity that comes to you and you read back what you wrote and it has a different meaning. Use audience analysis and purpose statements to guide your revisions. Are you staying within your audience? Are you staying within your scope? Are you staying within your purpose? Make sure that you're not straying from any of those. Print a copy on paper and take notes on it. Sometimes reading it in a different environment can make you think different things. Sometimes it's easier to draw with pens and pencils on it than it is to do it electronically. Make changes to the content, organization, and word choices. Consider how page design and graphic elements can help convey your message. If you're going to have a title at the bottom of a page with only one sentence and majority of it on the next page, go ahead and put a page break. Remember, these technical documents are meant to be more visually pleasing than an academic paper. So you can do things like add a page break so that your heading goes to the next page, and it's not going to be seen as a bad thing. Copy editing. So that is going to be a professional, error-free document. Your copy editing is what we call when you do your spell check and your word choice and your grammar and your consistency. Use the built-in functions of spell check and grammar check with caution. One good piece of advice is to find a quiet room and read it out loud to yourself. Sometimes as you read it, words that are not making sense and not going together, they pop when you listen to them through, out loud. Start with the last paragraph and read from the bottom up. Ask someone who is a good grammarian who's good at English stuff and spelling to read it. The copy editing phase, they really do not need to even understand the subject in order to give you feedback. Remember, this is grammar and spelling mostly only. So even if they don't understand the topic and they don't understand the research, that's fine. They can help you. I've done that before with copy editing. Finally, publishing, we need to make sure it looks professional. We need to make sure that you are within your due date, if not ahead of your due date. We need to make sure that we are presenting our information in the form that your reader needs. I think in chapter 1 or 2, we talked about the different mediums. Are you going to put information about gas prices, someplace where drivers don't see it? So we want to make sure that where we're publishing it, is it in a newspaper? Is it in print? Is it on the web? Is it in a specific journal? Is the journal going to reach our audience? So is your publishing presented in the form that your reader needs? And then finally, we want to make sure that we are using our sources correctly. Remember that whole plagiarism thing that we want to avoid. Finally, if you are to write collaboratively, we have a few tips and tricks. So a lot of writing projects are done in a collaborative setting. The more complex and the larger the project, the more likely you are to have to include others, whether it be for approval or for their contributions. Writing collaboratively is going to allow you to use everyone else's strengths. You want to make sure that when you're working in any kind of group, in any type of settings, you find out each other's strengths, and that is what you want to do. You want to play to their strengths, not their weaknesses. So there are advantages to writing collaboratively. You are going to bring together different types of knowledge. Remember, we said that writing is going to be based on the writer's background. Well, everyone has a different background. So that is going to bring a different dimension to whatever document you have. It's going to allow for different perspectives. It can improve work relationships. You may end up pairing with people you don't really know very well. By the end of your project, you typically will know them pretty well. It also keeps one person from being responsible for the entire project, right? Share the wealth, share the pain. So that way it reduces stress levels and things of that nature as well. But, there are also advantages. A lot of people can dread working in groups. I don't really like to work in groups unless I'm comfortable with the people I'm working with. It can create conflict. It can take longer than working alone, especially if you're having issues with communication, or for example, if people aren't on the same time zone even. It can take away personal motivation. Sometimes your reason for doing something is personal. If you have to share that, sometimes that personal motivation is just not there. It can lead to unequal workloads. I feel like we've all come across this, and it can produce fragmented writing. If each person is going to write a different section, then you can definitely tell that it hasn't been written by one writer. So a lot of times what you would do is you're going to have one person be the final editor and give that document an overall voice. So you take away that fragmentation. Different people can submit data to a central person who then would compile it. Different people can write different stages. So maybe one person would work on some drafts, one person would work on revising, one person could work on copy editing. You can also divide the research tasks and then come together as a group and write collectively, say in a group setting with one person taking notes. So those are some ideas to get beyond some of those disadvantages of writing collaboratively. Now, today in the age of technology, there are a lot of collaboration tools out there that are going to allow people to work together. There are wikis, which are file sharing, but you do have to be careful because a lot of times the information in wikis are not verified information. It's just allowed anybody to add information as they see fit. Co-authoring software is going to let multiple authors write and edit the same document. Things such as Google and OneNote allow sharing of documents in Word and I guess whatever the version of Google Word is. Can't remember the name of it right now. And finally, you do have online meeting spaces to allow people in different locations to meet in a virtual setting. So that is going to allow that group thinking of where it's going to go, or the whole vision of group writing. So, you can contribute to writing collaboratively by using positive work habits, coming prepared to your meetings, completing your portion of the work. And, sometimes that's easier said than done. Being interested in the project. Don't take criticism personally. This is a collective document. Everyone wants it to look their best. So a lot of times people take some of the criticism personally. Don't take it personally. I know it's difficult. Be on time to meetings. So that essentially wraps up chapter 4. You do have an assignment for chapter 4 of letter corrections. So there's a letter uploaded into our e-learning shell. So you're going to read the letter and locate as many errors as you can. And there are a total of 17. I think I actually found more than 17, but there's at least 17. So go ahead and locate and circle and fix those 17 that you found, and then write a quick answer to this question. What is your impression of the medical staff after reading this letter? I really kind of want to know what your thoughts are after reading it in its original state. So I have here just a snippet of what the letter looks like. So here, dear patient, we are writing this letter to inform you about procedures for your upcoming knee surgery for repair of your lateral meniscus and reconstruction of your anterior something ligament ACL. As you read through the document that is attached, you'll find grammatical errors, you'll find spelling errors, you might find some wordy sentences, maybe some things that seem out of scope. So go ahead, do your best. I'm sure you can find a bunch of errors in there. And that is the submission for this week's assignment. So hopefully it won't bother you too bad, and I will see you in the next lecture. Bye.